Right now. Right here. Right now.
You're dead meat! Glory to the Shogun!
Nothing lasts forever.
We have a Yae Miko rerun incoming, and naturally the big question is, should you get her? And you're asking me? Well, I'm a huge Yae Miko sim, so naturally I will be saying yes, you should definitely get her, but you might come across some differing opinions, so let me explain why I believe Yae Miko is always a fantastic choice. We're here with Miko and Masanori. Now, here's the thing. Over time, what I've noticed is that whenever we find a new character showing up in the game, there is a good to fair chance that you can actually fit Yae Miko into one of their teams. So over time, Yae Miko has actually gotten quite a lot of extra teams, which is really nice because that does mean that putting some massive investment like I have into someone like Yae Miko, I actually have one of the world's strongest Yae Miko builds, and also potentially go for a Constellations if you're like me and you go for one Constellation every single time she has a rerun. My investment in Yae Miko doesn't seem particularly wasted at all because I seem to always be able to just fit Yae Miko in a team with whatever new character shows up. And so for this video, what I want to do is some sort of like team development over time kind of deal, just to show you 3 teams that have existed for Yae Miko as time has progressed since her release. The first team, of course, is going to be the Raiden Inquisition, and this is a team that existed right when Miko first came out. It's one of my favorite Inazuma teams. In fact, it's the only full Inazuma team that I play, really. Because it's a team that is full of some of the hottest ladies in all of Genshin Impact, including Kokomi, who is a great healer, and Sarah heals both A and, well, buffs both A and Miko. We're not going to worry about A's missed initial slash, because this is of course a Miko video, but the idea is that Miko and A work really well together as just Electro characters that do a lot of damage. Of course, A being an incredible battery character does mean that Miko's somewhat high ER requirements, at least at C0, can be at least a bit more managed with someone like A on the team. And then of course, Dendro came out. Sumeru came out. And one of my most favorite Miko-centric Dendro teams is of course Quickbloom Miko. I also like playing International, which is a hyper-quicken team. But we won't worry about that for now. And the reason why Miko is so good for Quickbloom, if you just on-field her, is because her normal attacks are actually AoE. So even though her turrets are famous for not being particularly good at popping Hyperbloom seeds, her normal attacks are really good. This is why I tend to use an EM sand on my Yae Miko as opposed to an attack sand. I will talk about that a little bit later. And then Fontaine showed up. And with Fontaine came quite a lot of interesting characters, including Farina, who was an interesting option if you want to play her in your Quickbloom Miko team. But another character that showed up is an attack buffer. Now, Miko has always had a really strong attack buffer in the form of Kujo-Sara. But with this attack buffer, who also happens to be a healer as well, who also happens to be really good for pyro characters, we finally have an alternative attack buffer who can work alongside someone like Kujo-Sara, as well as other pyro characters. And so you end up with a team like this. An overload team that is particularly effective against hydro enemies like the Tulpa, like some of the local legends. As you can see, we're doing a lot of damage with Miko, and we can also do a lot of damage with Dehya, which is really nice. And this is one of those prime examples of the idea that, like, when you need the Electro, you can kind of just put Miko in here and you'll be a-okay. In a team like this, you'll probably want to use an attack sand, which I didn't, but that's okay, it doesn't matter, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Again, this is particularly effective against Hydro enemies. And we now have quite a handful to think about, including Vivienne, Ninian, the local legends, as well as Tulpa, especially in Spiral Abyss, and Hydro Cube if that ever shows up in Spiral Abyss. We have some very notable Hydro enemies. The Oceanid might actually show up in events as well, so there's that as well. At this point, basically, if you have any interest in bringing Electro into your team, Miko is a really solid choice. But I've still seen some people play Miko in a bit of a clunky manner, and then complain that their Miko gameplay is a bit clunky. But Miko mains everywhere have been saying for the longest time now that you're not supposed to play in the way that you may be thinking. Instead, the idea is to basically start with your skill, E, right here, right now, emerge, then rotate to your other characters, get all their buffs out, because the idea is, with Miko's turret still on the field, while you are sorting out various buffs and various other shenanigans with your other characters, Miko's turrets are still hitting them, which is just free damage at this point. Like, if you don't have Miko's turrets active at the time, that is effectively damage lost for absolutely no reason. Then you use her ult, then you go for 3 skills again, and then you swap out to various other characters. There's no need to go E. That is very clunky, and it was something that everyone was doing at the start of the game, when Miko first came out. But that has never been necessary for a very long time. A lot of Miko's damage does come from her turret, so delaying her ult is not really a huge problem in the long run, especially depending on various builds that you have with Miko. Speaking of builds when it comes to Miko, here's the thing, not too much has changed. When it comes to her weapons, Kagura is still her best in slot pretty much for almost everything. Thousand Floating Dreams continues to be like a very close second. So if you want just a more general damage setting, Kagura's is pretty much the way to go. Floating Dreams might be a little bit better for Quickbloom Miko shenanigans though, so keep that in mind. You've also got Risley and Nouvelette's weapons, but they're stat sticks, so don't worry about them. And then, if you're going up specifically against anti-gravity boss mechanics, or if you happen to have Cloud on your team, you can kind of go buck wild with Cloud Retainer's weapon. It is a great big attack stat stick as well, so it's not the worst idea. It's a bit niche though, but you know, if you want to have fun, go for it. When it comes to 4-star weapons, Witsith is probably still her best 4-star weapon for 10 seconds every half minute. And every one of the Witsith's buffs are really useful, especially in quicken teams, so just go wild. Basically, keep swapping into her every half minute and you're good to go, right? Otherwise, we do have a new Battle Pass catalyst. It's fine. It's a big crit rate stat stick, but you do kind of not like the low base attack. So, even though the EM that comes with it is nice, the HP that comes with it is practically useless. So, if you ask me, I think if you're going for a Battle Pass weapon, I'd stick to Solar Pearl. It does seem to make a little bit more sense for Yae Miko. Otherwise, we do have a craftable weapon by the name of Hakushin Ring. It's pretty good, especially in Dendro teams, especially in Raiden Inquisition if you're not using it on Kokomi. So yeah, that is another option indeed. Otherwise, there's various other DPS 4 stars and 5 stars. You can use them, they're fine. But these ones that I've mentioned are probably the more special and more interesting options. And then in terms of artifacts, I think the first thing you need to ask yourself when it comes to building Miko's artifacts, do you want to use her ult? If for whatever reason you don't want to use Miko's ult, and that is legitimate gameplay by the way, there are Miko mains who never ult. But if you don't want to use her ult, then the best artifact set that you want to go for is 4-piece Golden Troop. This is of course a newer artifact set. It came out after Miko's last rerun, so it is something that's brand new. It is a massive turret damage bonus, so that's pretty damn good. If for whatever reason you're playing on-field Miko, I guess you can always play Maro Shosei if you're playing her with Farina. That's just the case with everyone, really. If you're not intending to not use her, oh wow, that's scuffed. If you have every intention to use her ult, then 2-piece TF and attack or EM pretty much is the way to go. That seems to be the general idea for a lot of people. Otherwise, 4-piece Gilded Dreams is also pretty good. I personally don't do that, mainly because my 2-piece is already a top 1% build. It's gonna take a long time for me to get a Gilded Dreams build that is as good. But there's no need to run 4-piece Thundery Fury on Miko because her skill has a very short cooldown. And you don't need to actually ever reduce the cooldown of her skill because your turrets basically have more than 100% uptime. So that's really, really nice, right? This is one of the things why I kind of like playing Miko more than I like playing Fischl in teams like International, for example, just because like there's less memeing around. I can always use her turrets and they're always active pretty much as long as I'm not micro-sleeping. And her ult is very useful as well. That's just the reason why. When it comes to her artifact substats, again, I still maintain that EM, crit, and Electro is the way to go. Mainly because it's really good for Quickbloom shenanigans and as well as quicken teams. Because here's the thing. When you use an EM Sand on Miko, at least in my experience, provided the substats are more or less the same, your turrets do almost the same damage. Slightly less. And your ult still does pretty sizable damage. Almost similar to an attack ult. And this is because your ult doesn't have ICD, meaning that it will always trigger Aggravate. So if you're doing Quicken teams or Quickbloom teams, you will always be triggering Aggravate, so that's really, really good. And so then on top of that, if you happen to be Quickblooming, your Blooms do more damage. Well, your Hyper Blooms do more damage, so that's pretty nice as well. Otherwise, if you're playing a team that isn't like a Quickbloom team, like Raiden Inquisition, Overload with the higher, etc, 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 Attack Sand is the way to go. That is, in fact, the way to go. Alright, let's talk about Miko's Constellations. Once again, I have every intention of getting her to C6. One Constellation every rerun, so maybe I'll get her to C6 when Naya comes out. I don't know. But either way, I do have some first-hand experience with the first 2 of her Constellations, so I can speak to it a little bit more in detail. Mainly, C1 is actually a massive boon to her EUR requirements, because when you use her ult, you get almost half her ult back as a refund, provided you are doing a 3-stack ult. So keep an eye on how many turrets you have. Don't use her ult if you don't have any turrets out, because then you're kind of griefing. Don't worry, I've done that myself as well. Don't worry too much. But it is definitely something to keep an eye on, that having your 3 turrets will be really, really good. C2 is a 25% damage increase. It's not really noticeable. The main thing that is noticeable is the range increase for your turrets. This actually means that with Miko, I tend to actually chuck her turrets in the middle of a Spiral Abyss arena, and then I start running towards the enemy and trying to figure it out from there. You can even put your turrets on like one side of the map and try and fight enemies on the other side of the map. Don't go too extreme to the edge, but otherwise, yeah, you're pretty much good to go. But again, because Miko's turret cooldown, or rather her skill cooldown, is very, very short, if you ever feel the need to actually reposition your turrets for whatever reason, even with C2, yeah, just do it, whatever, who cares, right? Now, I don't have C4 or C6, but C4 should be pretty decent for aggravate teams because it's damage bonus. It's not a lot of damage bonus, but it's still damage bonus, so that's nice. And then C6 is what makes her turrets do a lot of damage. Apparently, a lot of Miko mains at C6 kind of stop ulting. And so, you may find a lot of C6 Miko mains are running 4-piece Golden Troop. So just heads up with that. That's pretty much it. Miko has always been a very, very great character to play, provided you're not doing the clunky thing about her. If you're playing her the way I play her, at least in my experience, I've never felt that Miko has been a clunky character, so take that for what you will. Of course, I am a Miko sim, so obviously I have major bias towards Miko, but she is my queen, and she will always get what she deserves, which is everything. So yeah, I will continue to play her no matter what, and I will always continue to enjoy playing her, no matter what. And I, for one, will probably continue to try to use her ult even if I have high Constellation Miko Because I like her ult. It's awesome. And it's big AoE damage. Why not? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. How do you feel about Yae Miko? Let me know in the comments. What kind of build are you using? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked this video, hit that like button. Subscribe for more Genshin Impact action. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Emerge. Right now.
Good ratings, cruel world. Making a turn for the better.
Make yourselves at home. Let's spark things.
Remember, health comes first.
I'm always watching.